Are you experiencing life through others? I haven't shaved because I've been speculating about this for 3 days or more, and I'm trying to find a way to get it across. There's a problem and there's a solution for that. Now, there are two ways to be living through others. One is that you're actively doing something to serve and to help others. That's one way of doing it. That's what nurses do or people in service. And it has the same result. And the other way is to live and experience life through others because it's the easy way to get experience. And I do that also. It's like watching media and engaging in life through others. It could be movies where there's an actor that does something and you experience what he's going through or she's going through. And that teaches you something about life. But it is experiencing through others. And there is a problem with that. And it's just something that we don't really realize why it becomes a bigger problem. So I have speculated because there's both a problem and there is a solution. And I need you to somehow stick on with it for just a moment longer. I'm going to give you the solution right away so that you don't feel that I'm holding out on it. It has to do with compassion and how to get or make or have more compassion to yourself. Now, that isn't an easy thing, so I'm going to return to it in just a little while. The problem is that when we live through others, there's a drainage going on with compassion, and it ends up being called another medical term that is called compassion fatigue. So you get tired, depressed, self-destructive, a lot of things start happening that are really difficult to catch and to find out why are they happening and what to do about them. How much can you do on your own and how much do you need help for? So usually for most people, it goes almost under the radar. They don't notice, and yet somehow there's anger, frustration, pain, my life isn't working, or I'm trying to do something and it's just a bit too hard. Restoring energy and getting back into the wheel is just harder and harder. And there's a reason for this, because if it's untreated or there's no reaction to it and no skills to deal with it, it gets worse and worse. And I can see the problem in youngsters and kids and even down to very, very young, 4 years of age or even younger, that depression starts happening or very, very self-destructive patterns start showing up very early. So it's a bigger problem than we probably realize, and it is one of the things. I think it's the most important problem in our lives today and in our culture. Now, there's a medical term for it. It's called living vicariously, or living through others, or living by proxy. They're good terms. They don't mean a thing. It's just a language. But the language is really trying to describe that you are not experiencing life directly. You're not picking up your own food and eating it, just like in the animal kingdom. We are not dealing with life in itself. We're dealing with life through objects, through screens, and rather than just going out there and feel it. There's another word for it. It's called caretaker syndrome or caregiver burnout when it goes too far. And that's where the clue is for what this is all about. Caretaker. It's about caring about others. Now, the different, like I said, different ways of caring about others, but it comes from the same juice, the same inner juice that we have. And it's a human quality that is very beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's a good thing. It's that we're able to have compassion with others. So kids can have compassion for their parents just to pick up what they have to learn about life. So it's a naturally given thing. We have this compassion and we use it to learn through others. We use it to feel with them, to recognize them, to be able to identify with others. What the juice we use is compassion. And that's why it becomes a problem when it's for others only. We have a compassion depletion going on. So it's like we lose more and more the more it's directed towards others, if it's not also directed towards ourselves. So unless we have compassion for ourselves, we're going to get into a compassion fatigue. Now, compassion fatigue is also a medical term. It's where suddenly you lose appetite for life, you end up being depressed, and it can have really devastating consequences. So compassion fatigue is something that happens when you extend yourself out towards others. You're draining some compassion and there's nothing coming back. I mean, you're watching a screen and you're just experiencing something, but there's no compassion coming back the other way. You're stretching out compassion to experience something and it's not coming back to you. So you don't restore, you don't regenerate. Now, it's not your fault, because we also live in a culture that invites this thing in us, this ability to have compassion with others. Ads, commercials, media, the internet, and this idea that we can consume and get learning and experience through others. Now, it's a good thing, so I don't want to criticize it. It's just that we are unaware of what it drains from us. We're stretching out this compassion and it keeps draining our system. So the positive thing is that it accelerates learning. There's no doubt about that. It accelerates learning, that I can see so many different people doing so many different things and learn from their experience. Accelerated learning, that's the positive. Now, the addiction or the problem is that we get pretty much addicted to this because it causes a dopamine rush to have something work out. And that happens when something works out in our own life, but it also happens when there's something good that happens in someone else's life. And even if something bad happens for them and it didn't happen for me, I still get a dopamine rush. So the dopamine rush is what creates an addiction. And it's an important one that drives us and keeps wanting more. And then there's the depletion of compassion, stretching out, using your compassion to connect with other people through a screen or a book or a film. It's good, you're learning something, you're experiencing life, but it's stretching outwards and nothing is coming back the other way. So that's what happens. And the negative thing is that it A, creates the dopamine addiction, and B, creates compassion fatigue, and it drains you internally. You start getting a negative and tired approach to life where things just drain out of you. And in the end, it ends with despair. Despair of some kind, even self-destruction. And that's where it gets really bad. We have self-destructive tendencies when we have no more compassion left. And we stop caring about ourselves, but we also stop caring about what goes on everywhere else. Now, I believe that it is probably the biggest problem we have right now in our culture. I believe that it is the greatest threat to mankind as we see it right now, because it is under the radar, because we don't know what to do with it, because we do not have the skill set to find out what to do with this in a meaningful, constructive way. And that's what I'm trying to give you. What can we do with this? Living vicariously is living through others. And this is how it ends, that you end up in a wheel of misfortune. And I call it the wheel of misfortune. it's like a trap door you fall in by mistake, by something that happens in your life, or mostly because you're just getting used to the idea of living through others because that's how the world is served to you. And then you get to compassion fatigue. It starts as self-doubt. Who are you? What are you trying to do? You don't even know, because you're feeding yourself through other people's experience. So you don't know what you really want, other than these addiction for more. People get self-destructive and they make worse choices, bad choices about their life, what to do, and they don't have the skill set. So it just gives them a picture of themselves that they are not good enough, or that they don't have any good tools to stay alive or to function, or having really bad habits, food habits, eating too much, eating too little, exercising too much, beating themselves up in many, many different ways, because the compassion has been completely depleted and they are in compassion fatigue. But there's a door out, and that's the important one. There's like this key. Self-compassion is what I'm going to try and offer you. You can get compassion by looking for it and getting people to like you, and you can try and find it out there. But really, my experience says getting people to love you and to show you compassion is harder said than done. It's something they will do if they know you already, and they will do a lot of care for you, but it just doesn't help them either. So there's something about self-compassion, knowing how to feel better about yourself. Now that's really, really important to learn. It's a process and it's a skill, and I want to show you how it works. So, like there's a wheel of misfortune, there's also a wheel of fortune, and I want to show you what that is. So take a look. Self-compassion. That doesn't mean you have to stop caring about anybody else, or everybody else for that matter. It means you have to start caring about yourself. Now that's easier said than done, and it takes months to learn. So I don't want to kid you that this is just some easy, simple task. Just turn on the switch and you can start caring for yourself. It's a process you need to learn how to do. And I work together with Christine Legg, and she is doing such a great work at showing how to do this in her way. But it's a way that has been tested and tried by others, and she just knows how to show it and make it live for her audience. And my approach has been similar, but I haven't been able to express it the same way. So I just advise you to take a look at her work, because without that, you're going to be needing help somewhere else. You're going to be needing support and help to find self-compassion. It's what people go to psychologists to find. It's what people talk to their best friends to find. It's how to begin caring about yourself. Now, if you're able to, you get more compassion. You just feel better about yourself, but you're also able to do more. You're able to care about others and actively do something that feeds a positive compassion wheel. It feeds you and it feeds others. So the old saying that has been known since the Greeks, you can't love anyone else unless you love yourself also. Now this is also like love myself. I don't want to love myself, but you do want to show yourself some compassion. You do want to acknowledge that life is hard and that you are struggling, and that it takes this extra being able to just care about yourself. I'm doing this because I really care about it. And that is a good thing. And the same with the self-compassion. Build it if you want to help others also. But without self-compassion, you are going to be in compassion fatigue. And there's nothing else that I've known of that you can do about this. So let's get started at the right time. Self-compassion gives us a compassion surplus. And then you start making better choices, because it gives self-confidence, it gives better choices. And that's what I call self-mastery. Self-mastery is about knowing what matters to you and knowing how to convert that into what you do in life. That is what self-mastery is. Now you need to look at what isn't working to be able to work through this also. You can't just do it. It's not a magical switch. You can't just flick it on. There are things getting in the way. Some of them are from outside, but most of them are about how you function. So there's something about looking inside and actually move towards more self-understanding and self-compassion. That's how you get the key to self-mastery also. So I really wish you luck. We are trying to offer you some steps to make these processes easier. Christine is offering you a hard work of trying to hard work she's done to make it easier for her. She makes it easier for me. And she can, if you let her, make it easier for you. Listen to her work. Everything about it has to do with self-compassion. Looking at the things that get in the way and finding it. So I don't want to promise you anything, but if I can give you the goals that I've learned, try it.